Hi everyone! I always do that, I'm like, hi everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's video I'm going to be doing a makeup tutorial using the Dose of Colours Baked Browns palette. I know this is one of their new palettes, so I was really excited to try it out. It's also a first impressions video because I'd never actually used the palette yet, so you'll get to see my review of the eyeshadow palette. I did do my face makeup and my eyebrows off camera just because the main purpose of today's video is about the eyeshadow. It turned out to be a very warm smoky eye with a bold lip, so if you are interested to see how I got this makeup look and to know my first impression of this palette, then please keep on watching. Okay, so firstly, before we jump into the video, if you do see my eyebrows dripping off my face, try not to worry about it. It's just because my house is literally like a sauna at the moment and I'm sweating. Thought I'd warn you guys, it's literally like 100 degrees in here right now, so I'm going to try and get through this video, but hopefully my makeup won't melt off my face. So firstly, I want to talk about the actual palette itself. The packaging is absolutely gorgeous. It looks like this. So it's just that sort of shiny material, and the container itself is so small and easy to carry around with you that I think this palette would be perfect as your go-to palette if you were travelling, because obviously you have all the colours you need, going from lightest to highlight and then darkest into your crease. So you could do so many looks with this palette, which I think is really good. I haven't used this palette yet on my eyes, so I'm excited to see how they perform. However, when I did swatch them, they felt so creamy that it almost didn't feel like a powder. So I'm really excited to see how these apply on the eyes, and yeah, let's jump into it. I don't know what I did with my hand there, that was really weird. Okay, so to start off with, I'm going to be using this shade right here. I believe this is called Deserted. And the reason why I'm not taking that lightest white shade is because you can either use that colour as a base or you can use it as a highlight colour, which is what I'm going to be using it as. But I don't need to use it as a base colour just because I've already used powder on my eyelids. So my eyelids have already been set, so I don't really need to use that as a base colour. However, I am going to use it as a highlight for under my brow bone. But for my transition colour, I am going to be using that Deserted shade. And for those of you who are wondering what a transition colour actually is when you're creating a look that has a colour gradient going from light to dark, a transition colour bridges the gap between the shades. So if you think about it, a transition colour is the lightest shade that you apply first anyway, but it can also be used to help blend out the other colours in order to get that smooth gradient effect, if that makes any sense. If it doesn't, just you'll be able to follow along. So I'm going to pick up that Deserted shade and make sure you tap off any excess, just because you don't want fallout if you've already done your face makeup like I have. So zoom you in a little bit. So I'm going to apply this shade just above my crease and in my crease. For a transition colour, it doesn't really matter if you get it all over the lid because we're going to be covering that up anyway, but I do mainly want to keep this just in my crease and above it. So you can see, if I just zoom you in, you can just see I've kept it just in this portion here between my brow bone and my crease. I've actually never been so hot in my life. I hope my makeup goes on alright and it's not sticking to my sweat. Oh, that's an attractive brow hair right there. Perfect. So first off, I can already tell you that the eyeshadows are definitely very pigmented. They blended out really nicely, they applied really well on my eyes. So far so good. Sorry, I forgot to mention, for my transition colour I used the Morphe M504 brush, which is this big fluffy brush right here. Any big fluffy brush that you have will do. You don't want anything too defined just because they're for the darker colours. A transition colour you can definitely use a bigger fluffy brush just because it doesn't really matter if it gets a little bit messy. Next I'm going to be dipping into the second shade right here. This is called Outdoorsy. The good thing about this palette is it actually gives you a guidance because all the eyeshadow colours are in order. So you start off with that one, then go from there, there, and obviously you use the darker colours deeper into your crease. So yeah, I'm going to be just dipping into that second shade right there. And for this, I'm using the Morphe M433. This is a slightly more pinched brush. It's got a little bit more definement to it, so this is going to be perfect to get a little bit further into the crease. I don't want to take this colour as high as we did with the transition colour. I want to keep this a lot lower into my crease. However, I do still want to see that first shade that we applied, because in order to create that colour gradient you want to be able to see it going from light to dark, so we don't want to cover up the transition colour at all. Again, this shade is exactly the same as the first one. Bye! It's really creamy, easy to apply, and it blends out really nicely. I really think I'm going to like this palette actually. So once you've applied that shade, I'm then going to take that first brush that we used, the Morphe M504, that big fluffy one, and I'm going to dip into the deserted shade, which was our transition colour. This colour is going to help us blend out the other shade. Instead of having that harsh line where you've changed colour, you want to use the transition colour to create a smooth gradient. Just see the difference. This side's not blended out and this side is. Once you've blended out them two shades, the next shade I'm going to take is this shade right here. This is called Cherry Wood, and again I'm going to just keep this a lot lower into the crease. So the darker we get with the shade, the more you want to keep it into the crease. And for this colour I'm going to be using the Zoeva 227 Luxe Definer brush. It looks like this, and this one is basically similar to the Morphe one I just used. It's a lot more pinched and defined. I'm going to apply this colour right into the crease, not bringing it up any higher. Again, this colour is the same. It's really creamy, easy to blend. I think all of these shadows are going to be much the same in pigmentation, to be honest, because when I swatched them, they were all really nice. And once you've applied that darker shade, just with the first brush that we used, the Morphe M504, big fluffy one, I'm just going to blend that out. So finally we're going to be dipping into this dark brown shade right here. This shade is called Rock Bottom, and I'm actually going to take this shade all over my lid to create that smoky eye effect. I'm praying that this colour doesn't have any fallout, otherwise my face makeup is going to be ruined. So tap off that excess, and I'm going to be applying this shade all over my lid. Look how pigmented it is. It's really nice. And the brush that I'm using to apply this is the Dose of Colours brush that we actually get given in the palette itself, so that's really good. This brush has a flat shaded side and then a pointed side, which is really good for the lower lash line, so this brush actually does come in handy. So you want to apply this shade all over the lid and bring it up to the crease as well. Once you've applied that dark brown shade all over the lid, then going back in with the first brush that we used, which was the Morphe M504 brush, that big fluffy one. Oh, ignore the mess on my hand, that was me like swatching it earlier. So I'm going to just blend out that dark brown shade. In terms of fallout, it had a tiny little bit of fallout just here, but other than that, the fallout was really good. Like, there was hardly any. The shadows are really pigmented, so far I really do like this palette. They also did have a Marvelous Mauves palette. Just get that. Looks like this. So obviously the packaging is in that pinky colour rather than a brown. and these also look really nice as well. I will, if you want me to, just let me know in the comments below, do a tutorial using this one as well if you wanted to see that. But for my lower lash line, again, I'm just going to be repeating exactly what I did on top and the bottom. So I'm going to be starting off with that transition shade here, and then get darker and darker. But when I do use the darker colours, I want to keep them more just in the outer corner of my eye rather than bringing them right up into the inner corner, because that's going to make my eyes look really small and just really dark. And for my lower lash line, I think I'm going to use that Dose of Colours brush using the pointed side of it. So I'm going to dip into the transition shade. With the transition shade, you can apply it across your whole lower lash line, so you can bring it all the way to the inner corner, just because it's not that much of a dark colour, so it's not going to make your eyes look any smaller. The only thing I would say about this pointed brush is that obviously, because it is pointed, it is a little bit sharp. So it does hurt a little bit, but it's a pain that I can deal with. So I've done my lower lash line, and as you can see, I kept the darker shades just on the outer corner. I didn't bring them all the way in, otherwise it really would have made my eyes look a lot smaller and it would have just looked like I've been punched in the face basically. I also ended up using that flat shader side of the Dose of Colours brush just because it's actually a lot better than using the pointed side, as I want to create like a smoky effect on my lower lash line, and the shader side definitely gave me that smoky effect, whereas the pointed side, because the brush isn't fluffy enough, it didn't move around the product enough in order to create a smoky effect. Once you've done the lower lash line, I'm now going to be dipping into that highlighter shade, and I'm going to be highlighting just underneath my brow bone. And to apply this, I'm using the Zoeva 226 smudger brush. You could also take that colour in the inner corners as well, but I'm not going to do that just because it is a matte shade and I want a shimmery colour in the inner corners. Just because as this is a smoky eye, I want the inner corners to pop. So for my inner corners, I think I'm going to take the Mary Luminizer highlighter by The Balm. This one is a really nice drugstore. Wait, is The Balm drugstore? I don't know, I'll have to research that. But this one is really nice, and I'm just going to be applying that with my finger. So for mascara today, I'm going to be using the Maybelline Lash Sensational Mascara as always. I think you guys are going to get really bored of this mascara, so I am going to apologise, but it is honestly one of my favourite mascaras. But feel free guys to let me know in the comments if you think there's one that beats this. I'd be very interested to find out. So once you've done your mascara, for lashes I'm going to be using the Ardell Wispy Lashes. I would show you the box, but I've already used them once. So this is what they look like, if you can see them. They're really nice, and you don't actually have to apply lashes for this look. You could just stick on some mascara and the look is really nice. However, with a smoky eye like this, I would probably recommend wearing some sort of lashes just because it is such a bold look and you want your lashes to stand out just as much as the eyeshadow does. So now that lashes are on, and for highlight I'm going to be using the Mary Luminizer by The Balm just because I thought, well, I used it in my inner corners, so I may as well use it as my face highlight too. And for this I'm going to be using the Smashbox fan brush. It looks like this. It doesn't have a number. I did get it in a set. It was like a Christmas sale, so I had to pick it up, of course. And again, I'm just going to spray my face with the Urban Decay All Nighter setting spray. Try not to get it in my mouth this time. It's all good. And for lips, I think I'm going to take a risk and use this berry shade right here. This is a Dose of Colours liquid lipstick, and this is in the shade Berry Me. It looks like this. I did also buy this when I bought the palette, so I haven't tried this yet, so I'm excited to see how it goes. So So guys, that brings us at the end of today's makeup tutorial. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I also hope you actually learned something from this video. If you do have this palette yourself and you want to recreate this look, feel free to tag me in any of your photos on Instagram. My link will be down below as always. I ended up really liking this palette. The eyeshadows are really pigmented and really creamy, so if you are able to get your hands on this, I would really recommend buying it. I do also really like the liquid lipstick. I'll have to see how it wears throughout the day, but so far it's really comfortable. Thank you all so much for watching. Please be sure to give this video a massive thumbs up if you enjoyed watching it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos from me, and I will see you all in my next video.